Have you ever felt like you're constantly walking on eggshells, always defending yourself against accusations that make no sense? Have you had one of those rare moments of quiet, only to have it completely shattered by a sudden, bizarre argument that leaves you reeling for days? If that sounds familiar, I want you to hear this. It's not your fault. You're not going crazy, and you aren't inadequate. You've been living in a reality carefully built by someone else's fear. A narcissist's greatest terror, the one they'll go to any length to hide, is being exposed for who they often are underneath it all. A fragile, insecure person hiding behind a mask of superiority. And to protect this secret, they don't just build walls, they build a prison of projection around you. They turn their internal chaos into your external reality. In this video, we're not just going to talk about this. We're going to dismantle that prison, brick by brick. We'll expose their blueprint, show you exactly how their deepest fears become your daily struggle, and reveal how seeing the truth of their illusion can finally set you free. The unseen architect, a narcissist's core fear. To really get what's happening in the toxic environment a narcissist creates, you have to stop looking at the surface, the arrogance, the entitlement, the total disregard for your feelings, and look underneath. We have to see the trembling foundation their whole personality is built on. That huge, imposing figure you see isn't a titan of strength. It's a hologram projected by a very small, very frightened operator hiding in the dark. That operator is often driven by a trio of tormenting emotions, profound shame, crippling insecurity, and an all-consuming fear. Let's start with the most corrosive of these, shame. We're not talking about guilt, which is feeling like you've done something bad. We're talking about shame, the deep, gut-level belief of being bad, of being fundamentally flawed and defective. For many narcissists, this feeling of shame is so unbearable, so opposite to the grandiose image they need to survive, that their entire psychological structure is designed to run from it. Their grandiosity isn't self-love. It's a desperate, lifelong sprint away from self-hatred. Every boast is a shield. Every act of superiority is them trying to claw their way out of a pit of perceived worthlessness. They're so terrified of the emptiness they see in the mirror that they spend their lives forcing everyone else to see a king, a queen, a genius, anything but the fraud they secretly believe they are. This deep-seated shame gives birth to its twin, a relentless and profound insecurity. Imagine if, at your core, you felt you just weren't enough, that if anyone saw the real you, they'd be disgusted and leave. This is the daily reality for many narcissists. This insecurity fuels their bottomless need for validation, often called narcissistic supply. They need a constant drip feed of admiration and attention, not because they're confident, but because they have no stable, internal sense of self-worth. Your praise isn't a bonus, it's life support. It's the external proof that temporarily quiets the screaming internal voice telling them they are nothing. And this is where the main organizing fear comes in, the fear of exposure. More than anything, the narcissist is terrified of being seen for what they truly are. They dread that grand reveal. The moment the curtain gets pulled back and the audience sees not the powerful Wizard of Oz, but the small, frightened person pulling levers. They fear being seen as weak, flawed, or just ordinary. This fear is so powerful because it threatens to unleash the two things they can't handle, shame and the terror of abandonment. They operate on the assumption that if you ever saw their true, fragile self, you would reject them. And for someone whose whole identity is built on what other people think, rejection isn't just painful, it's a kind of psychological death. This fear of abandonment is the key to their controlling nature. They don't control you because they're strong. They control you because they're terrified you'll leave. They can't build real emotional intimacy because that requires vulnerability. And in their mind, Vulnerability is a fast track to exposure and abandonment. So instead of a connection built on trust, they build a cage made of rules, manipulation, and control. If they can manage every part of your life, your friends, your money, your thoughts, they think they can reduce the risk of you ever seeing their flaws and walking away. So much of what they do, every lie they tell, every game they play, is a move in a frantic chess match against being found out. The projection engine, how their fear creates your world. So we have this person driven by a secret, consuming fear of being exposed as a fraud. How do they keep that secret safe? How do they walk around projecting this image of supreme confidence while their inner world is a storm of shame and insecurity? They do it with a powerful and damaging defense mechanism, projection. In simple terms, psychological projection is when a person takes their own unacceptable thoughts and feelings and pins them on someone else. It's like holding a bag of garbage that's so gross you can't even admit it's yours. So you just hand it to the person next to you and accuse them of carrying it. The narcissist's mind is full of this garbage, their shame, deceit, insecurity, and selfishness. And you, the partner, child, or friend, become the one forced to hold it all. This isn't just simple blame shifting, it's a full-blown distortion of reality. They aren't just trying to convince you that you're the flawed one. They're trying to literally relocate their own flaws into you to cleanse themselves. This is how their fear becomes your reality. They don't just create a toxic environment. They build a whole alternate universe where you're the villain and they're the perpetual victim or hero. To figure out how to escape this universe, first we have to map it out. We'll look at the three main ways they use projection to turn their inner prison into your daily life. The mirror of accusation. They accuse you of their sins. This is maybe the most confusing and maddening form of narcissistic projection. They will look you right in the eye and accuse you of the exact things they are doing. It's a direct transfer of their own sins onto you. The narcissist who's having an affair becomes obsessively jealous, checking your phone and demanding to know where you've been. The narcissist who lies constantly will accuse you of being secretive and untrustworthy. The one who's blowing family money will criticize your every purchase and call you financially irresponsible. Here's a clearer picture. Imagine a woman, Sarah, in a relationship with a man named Mark. Mark is secretly texting an ex, feeding his need for validation and keeping his options open, a classic move driven by fear of abandonment. He's living with this constant low-level shame and fear of being caught. This feeling is intolerable. So the projection engine fires up. One night, Sarah gets a text from a male coworker about a project. Mark sees the name and explodes. He doesn't just ask who it is. He launches an attack. "Who is this guy? Are you hiding something from me? I can't believe you'd be so deceitful. I feel like I can't trust you anymore." All of a sudden, Sarah is on the defensive, frantically explaining a totally innocent work text. She feels confused, ashamed, and guilty, even though she did nothing wrong. Meanwhile, Mark, the one who's actually being deceitful, gets to play the role of the righteous, wounded partner. He has successfully taken his own shame and guilt, wrapped it up, and handed it right to her. This tactic is brutally effective for two reasons. First, it's a perfect smokescreen. While you're busy defending yourself from baseless accusations, you're completely distracted from what the narcissist is actually doing. Your energy is so tied up in proving your innocence that you have no bandwidth left to question their suspicious behavior. You're so focused on the fire they started in the living room that you don't notice they're looting the bedrooms. Second, it offloads their shame. By making you the liar or the cheat, they get to feel, for a moment, like they are the honest one. It purges that unbearable feeling of their own wrongdoing and puts it in you. This is why their accusations feel so intense and personal. They aren't just accusing you, they're fighting a reflection of themselves, and they need you to be the villain so they can stay the hero of their story. Living in this hall of mirrors is designed to break your sanity, making you question your own character while they walk away clean, at least for a little while. The demolition of your confidence. They project their insecurity onto you. The second major form of projection is aimed right at your self-worth. Remember, the narcissist is often riddled with deep insecurity and a fear of being inadequate. When they see real confidence, talent, or happiness in you, they don't see something to celebrate. They see it as a threat. Your light doesn't just shine on you. By comparison, it exposes their own perceived darkness. Your strength highlights their fragility. Your success reminds them of their secret fear of being a failure. Since they can't build their own sense of worth from the inside, their only move is to tear yours down. They project their own feelings of worthlessness onto you through a relentless campaign of criticism, belittling, and subtle sabotage. This isn't always obvious abuse. In fact, it's often disguised as helpful advice or constructive criticism. Consider this. Let's say you're passionate about painting. It brings you joy, you're getting better, and you're starting to feel proud of your work. To the narcissist, this independent source of confidence is a major threat. So the projections start. They might walk by while you're working and say, "That's a bold color choice. Are you sure it works?" The comment sounds like a question, but the subtext is clear. You have bad judgment. Later, you proudly show them a finished piece, and they say, "It's really nice. You're getting so good at your little hobby." That word, little, is a dart meant to shrink your accomplishment, to frame your passion as trivial. Over time, these little comments add up like 1,000 paper cuts. They'll criticize how you dress, your friends, the food you cook, your opinions. They'll question your intelligence, your memory, your competence. The goal is to plant seeds of doubt in every corner of your mind. They're projecting their own internal critic, that voice telling them they're not good enough and making it your external reality. They're trying to make their inner monologue your inner monologue. This serves two purposes for them. First, by making you smaller, they feel bigger by comparison. It's a twisted seesaw of self-esteem. For them to go up, you have to go down. Second, an insecure person is much easier to control. When you start believing their criticisms, you doubt your own perceptions. You become more dependent on them for validation, which is exactly where they want you. By projecting their insecurity onto you, they aren't just trying to make you feel bad. They're trying to cripple you, to make sure you never get strong enough to see through their act and walk away. The smokescreen of chaos. They project their internal turmoil outward. The third way a narcissist's fear becomes your reality is by projecting their internal chaos. A narcissist's mind is rarely a peaceful place. It's a turbulent storm of shame, anxiety, and emotional instability. Sitting with that turmoil is excruciating for them. Quiet moments aren't peaceful, they're dangerous. In the silence, the truth of their own emptiness threatens to surface. To avoid this, they have to make sure there is no silence. They project their inner chaos onto their environment, creating constant drama, conflict, and crisis. Have you ever noticed how a huge fight can erupt out of nowhere, just when things felt calm? You might have a peaceful weekend, a rare moment of connection, and you start to relax. That relaxation is the narcissist's enemy. Your peace gives you the space to think and to see, so they have to disrupt it. They'll pick a fight over how you loaded the dishwasher. They'll bring up something you supposedly did 5 years ago. They'll manufacture a crisis that puts them conveniently at the center of all the drama. For example, a couple is planning a quiet evening. The narcissist, feeling that unnerving calm, suddenly remembers a minor comment their partner made a week ago. They twist it into a grave insult. "You know, when you said you were tired last Tuesday, what you really meant was that you find me boring, right?" The partner is completely blindsided. The accusation is absurd. But now, the evening is anything but quiet. It's a 4-hour circular argument where the partner has to defend their words, intentions, and character. The narcissist has successfully taken the chaos from inside their own head and unleashed it into the home. The purpose of this manufactured chaos is, first and foremost, a powerful diversion. If you're always emotionally exhausted from putting out the fires they start, you'll never have the energy to investigate who's holding the matches. Chaos keeps you in a reactive state, always off balance and unable to do the kind of clear-headed thinking that would let you see their patterns of manipulation. Chaos also prevents true intimacy. Real connection requires peace and vulnerability, two things that terrify a narcissist. Constant drama creates emotional distance, keeping you at a safe arm's length where you can't get close enough to see their real, fragile self. They create a storm and then complain about the rain, positioning themselves as the victim of the turmoil they created. They are projecting their own unstable inner world onto your shared life, forcing you to live in a constant state of high alert, never feeling safe, stable, or at peace. Your home stops being a sanctuary and becomes a battlefield, a perfect reflection of the war raging inside their own mind. If any of this sounds familiar, the relentless accusations, the slow chipping away of your confidence, the constant manufactured drama, please take a moment to know that your experience is real. Let me know in the comments which of these projections hits closest to home for you. You are not alone in this, and you're not imagining it. Sharing your story can be a powerful first step in taking back your reality. And if this information is helping you connect the dots, please consider subscribing for more content that gives you the knowledge to understand, heal, and move forward. The Great Escape: Dismantling Their Manufactured Reality. Understanding the why and how of a narcissist's projections is the first essential step. It's like being handed a map of the prison they've built around you. But a map is useless if you don't know how to find the exit. The good news is, the moment you can see the walls of the prison for what they are, a flimsy construction of fear, is the moment you find the key. The escape isn't about changing them. It's about changing your relationship with their reality. It's about deciding to stop being a character in their chaotic play and become an audience member instead. This is the turning point. It's where you stop reacting and start observing. This shift in perspective is your greatest weapon. When they launch an attack, instead of feeling the immediate sting and rushing to defend yourself, you take a mental step back. You think, I see what's happening. This isn't about me. This is their fear talking. This is projection. This single act of observation creates a buffer, a space between their behavior and your emotional response. In that space, your power lives. The following steps are practical strategies for widening that space and rebuilding your own reality on a foundation of truth. Step 1. Naming the tactic, from confusion to clarity. The narcissist's primary weapon is confusion. Gaslighting, projection, and blame shifting are all designed to make you doubt your own mind. The first and most powerful step to cut through this fog is to give their tactics a name. You have to move their behavior from the realm of raw, confusing emotion into structured, intellectual analysis. When they accuse you of being selfish after you've spent the whole day meeting their needs, don't get pulled into the argument. Instead, in your own mind, label it. This is projection. When they deny something they clearly said yesterday, making you question your memory, label it. This is gaslighting. When they blame you for their outburst, saying, "You made me do this," label it. This is blame shifting. They are avoiding responsibility. By naming the tactic, you transform it. It stops being a mysterious, powerful force and becomes a predictable, pathetic pattern. It's like learning the name of a monster in a fairy tale. The moment you can name it, you gain power over it. This creates critical emotional distance. Instead of being swept away by the drama, you're now standing on the riverbank, observing it. Practically, this means training your internal dialogue. When they start a tirade, Your internal response shouldn't be, "Am I really that selfish?" It should be, "Okay, the projection engine is starting. They're feeling insecure, so they're trying to offload that feeling onto me. This has nothing to do with me and everything to do with their inability to manage their own feelings." This mental script is your anchor in their storm. It keeps you grounded in your reality, even when they're trying to pull you into theirs. Step 2, the gray rock and information diet, starving the beast. A narcissist often feeds on your reactions, your anger, your tears, your desperate attempts to explain yourself. This is all high-quality narcissistic supply. It proves they have an impact on you, that they matter, that they have control. One of the most effective ways to disarm them is to cut off this supply. This is where a strategy, widely discussed in survivor communities and known as the gray rock method, comes in. The goal is to make yourself as boring and unresponsive as a plain gray rock. You're not confrontational, you're not emotional, you're just dull. When they try to provoke you, you give short, factual, unemotional answers. When they accuse you of something outrageous, instead of defending yourself, you might say, "I hear you feel that way," or "okay." When they try to pull you into a crazy-making argument, you just say, "I'm not discussing this now," and walk away. This should be paired with a strict information diet. A narcissist uses personal information against you. Your dreams become things they can belittle. Your insecurities become the weapons they use to attack you. You have to stop giving them this ammunition. This means you stop sharing your successes because they'll only try to diminish them. You stop sharing your fears because they'll use them to manipulate you. Your inner world, your hopes, dreams, and feelings becomes a sacred space they are no longer invited into. You share this information with trusted friends, a therapist, or a journal, but not with them. When they ask about your day, the answer is a bland, "fine." When they ask about your project, it's going. You give them nothing to latch onto, nothing to twist, nothing to feed on. This will likely infuriate them, and they may even escalate to get a reaction. But committing to being a boring gray rock can eventually starve them of the supply they crave from you, and they may be forced to seek it elsewhere. Step 3, rebuilding your reality, the anchor of self-trust. Years of narcissistic abuse systematically destroy your self-trust. Gaslighting makes you doubt your memory. Projection makes you doubt your character. Constant criticism makes you doubt your competence. Rebuilding your reality means forging a new foundation of self-trust, piece by piece. An essential tool here is the reality check. Find trusted, empathetic people, friends, family, or a therapist who can act as a mirror for reality. After a confusing fight with the narcissist, you can go to this person and say, "This just happened. They said I did this. Am I crazy?" A healthy outside perspective can instantly cut through the fog and validate your experience, confirming that no, you are not crazy. The behavior is the problem. Internally, one of the most powerful tools is journaling. You need to become the dedicated archivist of your own life. Write down what happens, what is said, and how you feel. This isn't for them, it's for you. When the narcissist inevitably tries to rewrite history by saying, "I never said that," or "That's not how it happened," you'll have a written record. Your journal becomes an incorruptible witness that will teach you over time to trust your own memory and perceptions again. Finally, you have to actively reconnect with your own identity. The narcissist has likely isolated you from hobbies and people that once brought you joy. You must reclaim them. Rejoin that book club. Take that art class. Call that friend you haven't spoken to in years. Each time you do something that makes you feel like you are laying another brick in the foundation of your own reality. You're reminding yourself that you exist as a whole person outside of their distorted reflection. Your confidence is the ultimate antidote to their projected insecurity. Building it back isn't an indulgence, it's an act of defiance and survival. Step 4. Understanding a boundary is for you, not for them. Many people think a boundary is a request you make of the narcissist. I need you to stop yelling at me. This is a recipe for failure. A narcissist's entire personality is often built on disregarding others' needs and boundaries. They see a boundary not as a line to respect, but as a wall to demolish, a challenge to their dominance. The key shift in understanding is this: a boundary is not about controlling their behavior, it's about what you will do to protect yourself. A boundary is a rule you set for yourself. A weak boundary is, please don't raise your voice at me. A strong, effective boundary is, if now you raise your voice at me, I will leave the room. A weak boundary is, you need to stop criticizing my friends. A strong boundary is, if you begin to criticize my friends, I will end the conversation. See the difference? You aren't asking for their permission. You're simply stating the consequence that you will enforce to protect your well-being. And then, the most important part, you have to follow through. Calmly, without anger. When they raise their voice, you don't argue. You simply state, I am not going to be yelled at, and you walk out. When they start belittling your friend, you say, I'm not having this conversation, and hang up the phone. This is the ultimate act of reclaiming your reality. You're no longer waiting for them to change. You're taking control of the only thing you truly can, your own actions. You are teaching them, through your behavior, that their tactics no longer work on you. Conclusion: their prison, your freedom. For so long, you may have lived in a distorted reality, a world built not of bricks, but of one person's projected fear. You've been a character in their story, forced to play the villain so they could feel like the hero, made to feel small so they could feel big, and thrown into chaos so they could escape their own inner turmoil. Their greatest fear of being exposed became the blueprint for the prison they built around you. But today, that can change. By understanding the shame, insecurity, and fear that often drive them, you've found the key. By learning to see their accusations and criticisms not as reflections of your worth, but as confessions of their own torment, you've unlocked the door. Their behavior is not and never was about you. It was always about them. Seeing them clearly, not as an all-powerful monster, but as a deeply wounded and terrified individual, doesn't excuse their abuse. It doesn't mean you should tolerate it, but it can liberate you from its power. It allows you to detach, to see their tactics for the predictable patterns they are, and to stop letting their fear run your life. Their fear is their prison, but it doesn't have to be yours. Your awareness is your freedom. Your reality is, and always has been, yours to define. The strength you thought you lost was never gone. It was just hidden by the long, dark shadow cast by their fear. It's time to step out of that shadow and into your own light. Your healing begins with this knowledge. It begins with the profound truth that you are not who they say you are. You are who you choose to be, starting right now. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you find some clarity, please subscribe and share it with anyone who might need to hear this message. Remember, understanding is the first crucial step toward healing. Take care of yourselves.